There is something most people never realize. The life you experience tomorrow is quietly being designed by the pictures you hold in your mind today, not the pictures you occasionally imagine when you feel inspired, not the dreams you speak about with friends. I'm talking about the silent images that return again and again when no one is watching. The scenes you replay while driving, washing dishes, lying awake at night, or staring out of a window. Those invisible pictures become the blueprint of your experience, far more often than people dare to believe. Have you ever noticed how some people seem to walk into opportunities while others seem to walk into the same disappointments over and over again? It isn't always because one works harder or deserves more. Something deeper is happening beneath the surface. By the end of our time together, you'll understand why the pictures you repeatedly accept in your imagination quietly shape your identity, your emotions, your decisions, and eventually the life standing in front of you. More importantly, you'll discover how changing those inner pictures can begin changing everything else without forcing life to cooperate. Because life has a strange habit of becoming familiar with whatever you become familiar with inside yourself. Most people spend years trying to rearrange the outside world. They change jobs. They move to another city. They start new relationships. They chase new goals. Yet somehow the same emotional patterns follow them wherever they go. The faces change. The scenery changes. But the feeling remains. Why? Because they carried the same invisible picture with them. Imagine someone who secretly sees themselves as someone who is always overlooked. They may smile confidently in public, but deep within, they continue imagining conversations where they aren't respected, opportunities where they're ignored, and futures where someone else is always chosen instead. Without realizing it, every decision begins serving that picture. They hesitate before speaking. They settle for less. They expect disappointment. And then life appears to confirm what they already imagined. They believe the world created their belief. In reality, their belief quietly influenced the way they move through the world. This isn't about blaming yourself for every difficult experience. Life contains uncertainty. Unexpected events happen. Challenges arrive without invitation. But even within uncertainty, the mind continuously creates expectations. And expectations influence perception far more than most people realize. Psychologists have long observed that people notice what they expect to notice. Your brain filters millions of pieces of information every second. It cannot process everything. So it asks one silent question. What matters? Your assumptions answer that question before your conscious mind ever does. If you expect rejection, your attention becomes highly sensitive to signs of rejection. If you expect appreciation, your attention naturally notices opportunities for connection. The external world hasn't necessarily changed. Your relationship with it has. That relationship shapes your choices. Those choices shape your results. And those results strengthen the picture you already carried. Round and round it goes. Perhaps you've experienced this yourself without realizing it. You wake up already expecting the day to be stressful, and before noon, you've collected enough evidence to prove yourself right. Another person wakes up with a quiet expectation that something good can happen, and somehow they notice opportunities that seemed invisible before. The difference isn't that one person lives in a different world. They are responding to the same world through a different inner lens. This is why two people can experience the exact same situation and leave with completely different conclusions. One sees rejection, where another sees redirection. One sees failure, where another sees feedback. One sees delay, where another sees preparation. The event is the same, but the picture each person carries determines the meaning they give it. Many people spend years trying to interrupt the cycle from the outside. They work harder. They read another book. They wait for someone else to change. Yet the original picture remains untouched. It's like repainting the walls of a house whose foundation is slowly sinking. The surface improves. The structure remains the same. Here's another question worth asking yourself. When your mind becomes quiet, where does it naturally go? Does it drift toward possibilities? Or does it immediately begin preparing for disappointment? Does it replay scenes of success? Or does it replay arguments that haven't even happened yet? Most people don't intentionally imagine failure. They simply rehearse fear so often that it becomes familiar, and familiarity feels believable. The mind often mistakes repetition for truth. If you've imagined something thousands of times, even unconsciously, your nervous system begins responding as though it already belongs to reality. That explains why some people feel anxious before opportunities they've never experienced. Their bodies are reacting to pictures they've practiced internally for years. The imagination doesn't always distinguish between what has happened and what has been repeatedly rehearsed. That's why a single fearful thought rarely changes your life. But a picture repeated every day eventually becomes part of your identity. Identity is far more powerful than motivation. Motivation comes and goes. Identity quietly directs behavior, even when motivation disappears. A person who sees themselves as healthy naturally makes different choices than someone who believes they're always struggling. A person who genuinely sees themselves as worthy approaches relationships differently than someone who secretly expects abandonment. Neither person needs constant discipline. Their identity makes many decisions automatically. This is why changing behavior without changing self-image often feels exhausting. You're asking your actions to compete against your identity. Identity almost always wins. But here's the beautiful part. Identity isn't fixed. It's shaped by the stories, emotions, and mental pictures you repeatedly accept. Imagine standing before a mirror every morning. If the mirror reflected yesterday forever, you'd never believe change was possible. Fortunately, consciousness doesn't work that way. Your inner mirror responds to what you consistently hold before it. Not instantly, not dramatically, quietly, faithfully. Think about planting a seed. The day after planting it, nothing appears different. A week later, perhaps still nothing. If someone judged the garden only by what they could immediately see, they'd conclude nothing was happening. But beneath the soil, invisible work has already begun. Roots are forming before leaves appear. Life always prepares beneath the surface before revealing itself above it. In many ways, your imagination is like that hidden garden. Every loving thought, every peaceful expectation, every vision of your future is another seed placed into fertile ground. Some seeds bloom quickly, while others require seasons of quiet growth. Yet, every healthy seed carries the potential to become something greater than it first appeared. Your responsibility is not to dig it up every morning to see whether it has grown. Your responsibility is simply to keep nurturing it with faith, attention, and consistency. Your imagination works much the same way. Many people abandon a new inner picture because they don't see immediate evidence. They assume nothing changed. Yet invisible change often begins long before visible results arrive. Every meaningful transformation spends time hidden. The river doesn't rush because it doubts the ocean exists. It keeps flowing because movement itself carries it forward. Likewise, your inner life doesn't need constant proof. It needs consistency. Every day, you picture yourself becoming calmer, wiser, more abundant, more confident. You're quietly carving a new direction for your mind. Like water shaping stone, small repetitions eventually create remarkable changes. Have you ever walked through a forest where sunlight filters gently between tall trees? Notice how the light doesn't struggle with the darkness. It doesn't argue with it or try to force it away. The moment light appears, darkness naturally gives way. That is how awareness transforms the mind. You don't always change your life by fighting every negative thought that enters your head. More often, you change it by becoming so familiar with a better vision that the old one quietly loses its influence. The mind always moves toward what feels most familiar. If fear has been your companion for years, courage may feel unnatural at first. If doubt has been your normal state, confidence may even seem unrealistic. But unfamiliar does not mean impossible. It simply means you have not visited that mental place often enough. Every new identity feels uncomfortable in the beginning. Think back to the first time you learned to ride a bicycle or drive a car. At first, every movement required your complete attention. Eventually, what once felt impossible became automatic. Your mind adapted because repetition created familiarity. The same principle applies to the person you are becoming. The version of yourself who feels peaceful. The version who naturally expects good things. The version who walks into a room without needing anyone else's approval. The version who trusts life instead of fearing it. That person doesn't suddenly appear one morning. That person is quietly built through thousands of small moments of inner rehearsal. Every time you choose a better picture instead of an old fear, you strengthen that identity. Every time you pause before reacting emotionally, you remind yourself that you are no longer living from yesterday's assumptions. Transformation is rarely loud. Most of the time, it is almost invisible. One day, you simply notice that something which once upset you no longer has power over you. You notice that your conversations sound different. You notice that your posture has changed. You notice that your expectations have become lighter. You notice that peace has become more familiar than worry. These changes seem small, but they are evidence that your inner world has already begun shifting. And once your inner world changes, your outer experiences slowly begin reflecting that change. Consider a sculptor standing before a block of marble. Other people see only a rough piece of stone. The sculptor already sees the finished masterpiece hidden inside. Every strike of the chisel removes something that never belonged. Likewise, personal growth isn't always about adding more knowledge. Sometimes it's about removing the false pictures you've accepted for years. The picture that says you're not enough. The picture that says success belongs to other people. The picture that says life will always be difficult. Those pictures are not permanent. They are habits. And habits can be replaced. Little by little, the unnecessary pieces fall away until your true nature becomes visible. Another helpful image is a compass. A compass never shouts. It never forces anyone to follow it. It simply points in one direction. Your imagination works the same way. Every picture you repeatedly accept becomes a quiet compass for your life. Without realizing it, your decisions begin aligning with that direction. You speak differently. You notice different opportunities. You meet different people. You respond differently to setbacks. The outside world appears to change, but in reality, your direction changed first. People often wait for confidence before taking action, but confidence usually arrives after you've practiced a new identity long enough. The mountain isn't climbed in one giant leap. It is climbed one steady step at a time. Every small step matters. Every quiet decision matters. Every gentle correction of your thinking matters. When you consistently picture yourself becoming stronger, calmer, wiser, and more fulfilled, you begin walking in harmony with that vision. Think about standing in a valley and calling out. Whatever you speak returns as an echo. Life often behaves in a similar way. The conversations you repeatedly have within yourself eventually echo back through your experiences. If your inner voice constantly whispers, "Nothing ever works for me," you'll begin noticing reasons to believe it. But if your inner conversation slowly becomes, "Life is unfolding in my favor," your attention begins collecting evidence that supports this new belief. The echo changes because the original sound changed. This is why your inner dialogue deserves your attention. Most people spend more time organizing their calendar than organizing their thoughts. Yet your thoughts become the emotional atmosphere in which you live every single day. If the atmosphere is filled with fear, every opportunity looks threatening. If the atmosphere is filled with trust, even challenges begin revealing hidden lessons. Imagine the ocean. On the surface, waves constantly rise and fall. Some are gentle, some are powerful, some appear chaotic. But deep below the surface, the ocean remains remarkably calm. Most people live only at the surface of their minds. Every unexpected event throws them into emotional storm. But as your awareness deepens, you begin living more like the quiet depths of the ocean. Thoughts still come, challenges still appear, life still changes, but your center remains steady. You stop reacting to every passing wave because you have discovered something deeper within yourself. That inner stability changes everything. Now let me leave you with something simple that you can begin practicing immediately. Tomorrow morning, before you reach for your phone, close your eyes for just a few moments. Picture one ordinary day going beautifully. See yourself speaking calmly. See yourself smiling naturally. See yourself handling unexpected situations with wisdom instead of frustration. Don't imagine perfection. Imagine peace. Carry that feeling with you as you begin your day. Throughout the day, become aware of your silent conversations. Notice the predictions you automatically make. Notice the labels you place upon yourself. When you catch yourself returning to an old picture, don't criticize yourself. Simply replace it. Gently return to the person you are choosing to become. This isn't about pretending. It is about practicing. At night, before you fall asleep, spend a few quiet minutes replaying your day the way you wish you had lived it. If something disappointed you, imagine responding differently. If something brought you joy, experience that gratitude once again. Then create one simple scene that represents the future you are growing into. Hold that picture gently, not with desperation, not with force, with quiet confidence. Allow your final thoughts to become an invitation rather than a complaint. Day after day, these small moments begin reshaping your identity. And once identity changes, behavior follows naturally. Then opportunities begin appearing where you once saw obstacles. Relationships become healthier because you have become healthier within yourself. Decisions become clearer because your mind is no longer divided between hope and fear. You begin trusting yourself, and perhaps that is one of life's greatest gifts. Not controlling every circumstance, but becoming the kind of person who can meet every circumstance with peace. So let me ask you one final question. If someone could watch every picture your mind entertained this week, what kind of future would they expect you to create? Would they see someone preparing for disappointment? Or would they see someone quietly preparing for a beautiful new chapter? Remember this, your imagination is not escaping reality. It is quietly shaping the person who will experience reality tomorrow. Treat your inner pictures with kindness. Protect them from unnecessary doubt. Return to them with patience, just as a gardener waters seeds before seeing flowers. Continue nurturing the life you wish to live before demanding visible proof, because every meaningful transformation begins in places that no one else can see. One day you'll look around and realize that what once existed only in quiet moments of imagination has become the ordinary reality of your life. And when that day arrives, you'll understand that the life you picture with calm conviction today is always becoming the life you live tomorrow.